Good afternoon. Just a reminder of the sad news in the last half an hour. West Ham legend, their former player and manager, Billy Bonds, has passed away at the age of 79. Tributes will be held before their game against Liverpool this afternoon.
The Billy Bonds controversy relates to the contentious manner of his departure as West Ham United manager in 1994 and a subsequent 20-year feud with his former assistant, Harry Redknapp. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment your thoughts below to support more football stories like this. Bonds was a club legend whose loyalty to West Ham was unquestioned by supporters and players alike. His managerial reign came during a turbulent period for the club. Financial pressures and boardroom instability set the stage for conflict. As manager, Bonds struggled with limited resources while trying to keep West Ham competitive. He frequently expressed frustration over player sales and a lack of backing from the board. Performances on the pitch were inconsistent, increasing pressure from fans and media. The tense atmosphere made long-term planning difficult. Despite his deep-rooted connection to the club, his role became increasingly uncertain. Harry Redknapp served as Bonds' assistant and was viewed as a more modern and media-friendly figure. Although the partnership started positively, differences in vision soon emerged. Redknapp appeared to have a stronger relationship with the board. When Bonds was dismissed in 1994, Redknapp was appointed manager shortly afterward. This swift change sparked accusations of disloyalty. Bonds felt deeply hurt by the manner of his dismissal. He believed his years of loyalty and service had been ignored. Over time, he accused Redknapp of undermining him behind the scenes. Redknapp consistently denied these claims and defended his conduct. Public statements from both men ensured the dispute continued. The feud grew into one of English football's longest-running personal conflicts. Interviews and autobiographies repeatedly revisited the fallout. Bonds expressed lasting bitterness over his treatment by the club. Redknapp moved on to achieve notable managerial success. Their opposing narratives kept the controversy alive for decades. Ultimately, the Billy Bonds controversy highlighted issues of loyalty and power in football management. West Ham supporters remained divided in their views. Bonds' legendary status as a player remained largely intact. However, the prolonged feud overshadowed any chance of reconciliation. Even today, the episode stands as a painful chapter in the club's history. Bonds, a legendary figure who holds the record for West Ham United appearances, was appointed manager in 1990. His promotion to the role was seen as a natural step after an iconic playing career. Supporters trusted his deep understanding of the club's identity. Bonds symbolised loyalty, toughness, and commitment. The board believed his leadership would bring stability. Expectations were extremely high from the beginning. During his early years as manager, Bonds faced immediate challenges. West Ham were struggling financially and lacked major investment. Squad depth was limited and transfer options were restricted. Despite this, Bonds focused on discipline and organisation. He demanded maximum effort from his players. Gradually, the team began to show resilience. One of Bonds' greatest achievements was guiding West Ham through 2 promotions. These successes restored pride among supporters. The squad showed strong unity and determination. Bonds earned praise for motivating limited resources effectively. Promotion campaigns brought optimism back to Upton Park. His reputation as a capable manager grew. In the Premier League, West Ham secured a respectable mid-table finish. This was viewed as a solid achievement given the circumstances. Bonds favoured structure and work rate over flair. Matches were often gritty and hard-fought. While not always entertaining, results were acceptable. Stability appeared to be taking hold. Despite progress on the pitch, issues developed behind the scenes. Bonds grew frustrated with the club's board. He felt excluded from important decisions. Player sales weakened his squad planning. Financial constraints restricted long-term vision. Trust between manager and board slowly broke down. Harry Redknapp served as Bonds' assistant during this period, the two men shared a deep personal history. Redknapp had been Bond's teammate and best man. Their bond was once built on loyalty and friendship. Professionally, they initially worked well together. Over time, tensions quietly emerged. Bonds began to feel increasingly sidelined within the club. He believed his authority was being undermined. Communication with the board became strained. Redknapp's influence behind the scenes appeared to grow. Bonds suspected decisions were being made without him. These suspicions fueled resentment. In August 1994, Bonds resigned abruptly as manager. The announcement shocked fans and players alike. His departure seemed sudden and unresolved. Media attention quickly followed the resignation. Supporters questioned the treatment of a club legend. Confusion surrounded the true reasons. Following his resignation, Bonds was offered a directorial role. He viewed the offer as disrespectful. Bonds believed it was a way to remove him quietly. He felt the move was designed to promote Redknapp. Accepting the role would mean losing control. Bonds firmly rejected the offer. Soon after, Harry Redknapp was appointed manager. This decision confirmed Bonds' fears. He felt betrayed by both the board and his assistant. The speed of the appointment raised serious questions. Bonds believed the plan had existed all along. The controversy intensified instantly. The personal fallout between Bonds and Redknapp was severe. The two men stopped speaking entirely. A once strong friendship collapsed overnight. Their silence lasted nearly 20 years. The feud became well known in English football. Reconciliation seemed impossible. For many years, Bonds avoided public discussion of the issue. He carried deep bitterness privately. Redknapp, meanwhile, enjoyed a successful managerial career. Media occasionally revisited the story. Fans remained divided in their loyalties. The tension never truly faded. In 2013, Bonds finally broke his silence publicly. This followed Redknapp's autobiography release. Bonds strongly criticised Redknapp's account. He labelled it pathetic and a pack of lies. His comments shocked the football world. The feud was reignited. Bonds felt Redknapp's words disrespected players and staff. He believed the criticism was unfair and misleading. According to Bonds, the portrayal damaged reputations. Emotions resurfaced after years of restraint. Old wounds were reopened publicly. The bitterness was still evident. There are other controversies linked to the name Bonds. Some mistakenly associate Billy Bonds with Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds faced performance-enhancing drug allegations. This controversy is entirely unrelated. The shared surname causes confusion. Billy Bonds' issue remains football-based. Another notable incident was the 1991 FA Cup semi-final. A controversial refereeing decision denied West Ham a final place. Bonds' team felt unfairly treated. Supporters still recall the injustice. The decision added to frustrations of the era. It remains a painful memory. Ultimately, the main controversy surrounding Billy Bonds remains his exit from West Ham. The acrimonious split left lasting scars. His feud with Redknapp overshadowed his managerial work. Despite this, his playing legacy remains untouchable. Bonds is still revered by many fans. The episode remains a defining chapter in club history. Billy Bonds deserves to be remembered first and foremost as a symbol of loyalty and commitment. His connection with West Ham United went far beyond trophies or titles. He gave everything to the club across decades of service. Few players have represented a single club with such pride. His name remains etched in West Ham history. That legacy can never be erased. As a player, Bonds set standards that inspired generations. His leadership on the pitch defined an era. He played with courage, determination, and heart. Teammates looked to him in difficult moments. Supporters trusted him to fight until the final whistle. He represented the true spirit of the club. In management, Bonds faced challenges few could have handled. Limited resources and internal conflict tested his resolve. Yet he guided West Ham through promotions and stability. His efforts laid foundations for future success. Results often came despite difficult circumstances. His work deserves greater recognition. The controversy surrounding his departure should not overshadow his contributions. Painful moments are part of football history. Bonds carried that hurt quietly for many years. His silence reflected dignity, not weakness. He remained loyal even when wounded. That restraint speaks volumes about his character. Time has allowed supporters to reflect more fairly. Many now view Bonds with renewed respect and admiration. The emotions of the past have softened. What remains is gratitude for his service. His influence still echoes around the club. His story continues to resonate. Billy Bonds represents an era when loyalty mattered deeply. He stood for honesty and hard work. Modern football rarely sees such devotion. His example remains powerful today. Young players can learn from his commitment. His values still inspire. In tribute, Billy Bonds should be celebrated as a true West Ham legend. Controversy may shape chapters, but legacy defines the story. His name stands tall in football history. He gave everything for the badge he loved. That dedication deserves eternal respect. Billy Bonds will always be remembered.
Cartridge is given the penalty. Here it comes again. There goes O'Hare. Out goes the foot, and he caught him outside the box.
The only thing they had is the referee on their side tonight. It's bloody ridiculous. He's given a penalty. He's disallowed a goal for us. It's terrible. He should be shot. It's as simple as Mars.
Tommy Smith's tackle, the quite rightly against the booking.
Tommy Smith, known as the Anfield Iron, was a legendary Liverpool FC defender renowned for his tough, physical style of play, rather than being associated with the team's worst fight or poor performance. Before we dive into the grit and glory of his incredible career, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another deep dive into football history. Born in Liverpool, Smith grew up just a stone's throw from the stadium he would eventually dominate, embodying the working-class spirit of the city through his relentless defensive work. He wasn't just a player, he was the enforcement on the pitch that allowed the more flair-heavy players to shine without fear of retaliation. His presence was a psychological weapon for Bill Shankly, ensuring that any opponent who stepped onto the Anfield grass knew they were in for a grueling 90 minutes. Smith's reputation as one of the hardest men in football was not merely a character he played, but a fundamental part of his identity as a professional athlete. Bill Shankly famously once said that Tommy Smith wasn't born, he was quarried, a testament to the literal and figurative strength he brought to the backline during his tenure. He possessed a legendary ability to read the game, often neutralizing threats before they could develop into scoring opportunities through sheer force of will. While modern football might shy away from such a heavy-handed approach, Smith's style was perfectly suited for the era of muddy pitches and high-stakes physical battles. He commanded his penalty area with an iron fist, earning the respect of teammates and the genuine fear of strikers across the English First Division. His journey with Liverpool saw him transition through some of the club's most transformative periods, acting as the bridge between the early success of the 60s and the European dominance of the 70s. Smith was a cornerstone of the 1965 FA Cup winning side, a victory that remains one of the most significant milestones in the club's storied history at Wembley. Even as tactics evolved and the squad changed around him, his reliability remained a constant factor that the coaching staff could always depend on. He was a leader who led by example, never asking a teammate to put in a tackle that he wasn't willing to fly into himself with twice the intensity. This unwavering commitment to the badge made him a cult hero among the COP, who appreciated his no-nonsense approach to the beautiful game. One of the crowning moments of his illustrious career came during the 1977 European Cup final in Rome, where his headed goal helped secure Liverpool's first ever continental crown. It was a fitting tribute to his years of service that he would score such a pivotal goal on the grandest stage in club football against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Despite being in the twilight of his career at that point, his fitness and tactical intelligence allowed him to compete at the highest level against world-class opposition. That goal cemented his status as a legend, proving that he was much more than just a hard man, but a player for the big occasion. The image of Smith rising above the defenders to power the ball into the net remains etched in the memories of those who witnessed that historic night. Beyond the trophies and the tough tackles, Tommy Smith represented the soul of Liverpool Football Club during an era where the bond between the city and the team was unbreakable. He made over 600 appearances for the Reds, a feat that few players in the modern era can even dream of achieving at a single club. His longevity was a result of his professionalism and a refusal to give anything less than his absolute maximum effort every time he crossed the white line. Even when dealing with injuries later in life, he remained a vocal supporter and a frequent presence around the club, always willing to share his wisdom. He understood the weight of the Liverpool shirt and what it meant to the fans, carrying that responsibility with a sense of pride and immense local dignity. Today, when people discuss the greatest defenders in the history of the English game, Smith's name is inevitably brought up alongside the very best to ever play the position. He proved that a defender's primary job is to protect the goal at all costs, and he did so with a ferocity that defined a generation of Liverpool success. His legacy lives on in the Anfield Iron nickname, a title that perfectly encapsulates the durability and strength he displayed throughout his remarkable 15-year professional career. While the game has changed significantly since he hung up his boots, the principles of loyalty and toughness he stood for remain core values of the club. Tommy Smith will forever be remembered as a man of steel who helped build the foundation upon which Liverpool's modern global empire was eventually constructed. The Anfield Iron nickname was not just a clever bit of branding, it was a badge of honour earned through years of bruising encounters and a refusal to yield. Tommy Smith earned this title because of his uncompromising approach to the game and an almost superhuman ability to play through serious injuries that would have sidelined lesser men. To stay updated on more gritty footballing histories and the legends of the Kop, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Smith's toughness was the stuff of legend, often taking to the pitch with gashes or heavy bruising, yet never once complaining about the physical toll. He embodied a brand of defensive play that prioritised safety and intimidation, making the penalty area a restricted zone for any brave attacker. This reputation for being unbreakable became a core part of Liverpool's identity during their most dominant years under Bill Shankly. Smith was the personification of a hard tackler in an era of English football where physicality was not just accepted, but was a key component of the game. During the 60s and 70s, referees allowed a level of contact that would be unthinkable today, and Smith exploited that freedom to its absolute limit. Bill Shankly famously summarised this raw, physical nature by stating that Tommy wasn't born, he was quarried, suggesting he was made of stone rather than flesh. His tackles were often timed to perfection, but delivered with a force that left opponents questioning their career choices. He didn't just want to win the ball, he wanted to ensure the opposing winger thought twice before coming down his flank again. This aggressive philosophy made him the perfect lieutenant for Shankly's tactical revolution, providing the steel needed to support the team's creative sparks. His career was defined by numerous high-profile on-pitch battles with some of the most famous names in the history of the sport, including Billy Bremner and Jimmy Greaves. These encounters were often more akin to prize fights than football matches, with Smith never backing down from a confrontation regardless of the opponent's stature. He was known for his fierce competitiveness and an almost pathological willingness to confront opponents who tried to intimidate his younger teammates. Greaves, one of the most prolific scorers in history, often remarked on the sheer difficulty of finding space when Smith was assigned to shadow him. These rivalries were built on a foundation of mutual respect, but on the pitch there was no room for pleasantries or mercy. Smith viewed every match as a literal battle for territory, and he was the undisputed commander of the Liverpool defensive line. The toughness Smith displayed on the pitch sometimes spilled over into his life outside of football, leading to several reported physical altercations off the field. One of the most infamous allegations involves an off-pitch pub fight with Everton player Bernie Wright, a man who was also known for his formidable physical presence. According to reports from the time, the encounter was brief but violent, with some sources suggesting that Smith actually took a good hiding from the Everton man. This incident highlighted the thin line Smith walked between professional aggression and real-world volatility, proving that his hard man persona wasn't just for the cameras. Being a local lad in a football-mad city like Liverpool meant that rivalries didn't always end when the final whistle blew. For Smith, defending his reputation was a 24-hour job that occasionally led to regrettable moments in the city's nightlife. Thank you for joining us as we delved into the storied and sometimes dark history of one of Liverpool's most famous sons. Whether you see him as a hero or a cautionary tale, there is no denying that Tommy Smith's influence on the sport was profound and lasting. Stories like these help us understand the roots of the modern game and the legendary figures who paved the way for the stars of today. We hope this script has given you a deeper insight into the man behind the Anfield Iron nickname and the era he helped define. Don't forget to look back at our other videos for more deep dives into the legends and rivalries that shaped the world of football. Until next time, keep the passion for the game alive and remember the history that built the clubs we love.
One Jimmy Hill, you know, you couldn't be sure quite what he was going to say next, but that made it even better because it was so unpredictable.
He'd have opened up his options for Fowler, because Fowler was in the best position.
Jimmy, be quiet, will you?
Also, Collymore could break through the Spurs' defence.
Jimmy Hill was more than just a broadcaster. He was a disruptor who wasn't afraid to challenge the biggest personalities in football, which inevitably led to his clash with Sir Alex Ferguson. This legendary player versus player dynamic in the media landscape highlights how Hill's analytical style often rubbed managers the wrong way. Before we dive deep into this historic feud that pitted the voice of the BBC against the power of Old Trafford, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into football history. Hill's journey from a professional player to a revolutionary chairman and eventually a pundit set the stage for a confrontation that would test the boundaries of sports. Journalism. The tension began in the mid-1990s when Eric Cantona's disciplinary record became a frequent talking point on national television, drawing Hill's sharpest critiques. Sir Alex Ferguson, notoriously protective of his squad, viewed Hill's comments as a personal and unfair attack on his star player. As Hill dissected Cantona's behavior during a broadcast, Ferguson watched from afar, growing increasingly frustrated with what he perceived as a biased narrative designed to destabilize his team. This wasn't just a critique of a single match. It was a battle of philosophies between a manager defending his locker room and a pundit demanding accountability. The media landscape of the 90s provided the perfect arena for this high-stakes standoff to play out in front of millions of fans. As the feud escalated, the public exchanges between the two men became a focal point for tabloid headlines, illustrating the player versus player nature of their professional roles. Hill refused to back down from his stance, maintaining that his duty was to the viewers and the integrity of the game, regardless of Ferguson's intimidating reputation. Ferguson in turn used his press conferences to fire back, creating a Cold War atmosphere that lasted for months and divided public opinion. Many saw Hill as a brave voice speaking truth to power, while others viewed him as an instigator poking at the most successful manager in English history. This friction emphasized the growing power of the punditry class in an era where television was becoming the dominant force in football. The turning point of this rivalry came when the intensity of the disagreement reached a peak, forcing both men to eventually reconsider the sustainability of their public bickering. Behind the scenes, the pressure of the feud began to weigh on the professional relationship between Manchester United and the BBC's Match of the Day. It was a classic example of two titans of the industry reaching a stalemate where neither could truly win without causing lasting damage to their respective careers. The clash highlighted the thin line between constructive criticism and personal animosity in the high-pressure world of the Premier League. Despite the public vitriol, there was a lingering sense of mutual respect for the impact each man had on the sport they both loved. Surprisingly, the resolution to this bitter conflict did not come through a public debate, but through a private and sincere gesture from the Scotsman himself. Sir Alex Ferguson eventually penned a letter of apology to Jimmy Hill, acknowledging that some of his reactions may have crossed a line during the heat of the season. This letter served as a white flag, effectively ending the feud and proving that even the most stubborn rivals could find a path toward professional reconciliation. Hill accepted the apology with his trademark composure, bringing a quiet end to one of the most talked-about media rivalries of the decade. The gesture transformed their relationship from one of open hostility back to a baseline of professional courtesy and mutual understanding. Reflecting on this saga, the Hill-Ferguson feud remains a definitive chapter in the history of football media, showcasing the power dynamics of the 1990s. It proved that while managers and pundits may often be at odds, the game thrives on the tension between those who play and those who analyze. Jimmy Hill's legacy as a man who would not be silenced, even by the formidable Sir Alex, solidified his place as a pioneer of modern sports broadcasting. Today, the story of the apology letter serves as a reminder that the fiercest rivalries can often conclude with a simple act of humility and grace. This player versus player battle in the studio and the dugout helped shape the transparent, high-pressure media environment we see in the sport today. The clash between Sir Alex Ferguson and Jimmy Hill began during an intense FA Cup match between Manchester United and Norwich City in January 1994. During the heat of the game, United's talisman Eric Cantona committed two separate fouls, one of which involved a high boot aimed toward the head of a Norwich player. This moment of aggression on the pitch provided the spark for a media firestorm that would soon engulf both the manager and the broadcaster. Jimmy Hill, watching from the pundit's chair, did not mince his words when analyzing the volatile behavior. He characterized Cantona's actions as despicable and even went as far as to label him villainous in front of the national audience. These sharp words immediately drew a line in the sand, pitting the outspoken analyst against the most formidable manager in England. When Sir Alex Ferguson was informed of Hill's harsh televised critique, his reaction was swift, explosive, and typically uncompromising. The Manchester United manager launched a scathing public attack on Hill and the entire BBC commentary team, famously dismissing Hill as a prat. Ferguson accused the broadcaster of harboring a bias against his club, suggesting that the match of the day team was dying for United to lose. He argued that Hill was only verbal whenever it suits him, implying that the pundit sought out controversy to maintain his own relevance. This exchange turned a footballing incident into a personal war of words that captivated the sports media for weeks. For Ferguson, it was a matter of protecting his player from external persecution, while for Hill, it was about maintaining journalistic standards. Despite the intensity of their public spat, the disagreement was ultimately resolved through a gesture of rare humility from the legendary manager. Jimmy Hill's widow, Bryony Hill, later revealed that Ferguson reached out with a private letter to settle the score once and for all. In the correspondence, Ferguson acknowledged that he had lost his temper and admitted that his reaction had been excessive. He wrote that while losing one's temper can be justified for the right reasons, on this specific occasion there was no valid reason for his outburst. This apology effectively mended the bridge between the two giants of the game, showing a side of Ferguson that the public rarely witnessed. It was a dignified end to a player versus player battle that had briefly threatened to overshadow the season. Beyond his famous feuds, Jimmy Hill's career was defined by a restless desire to modernize every aspect of the beautiful game. As a player for Brentford and Fulham, he was reliable and hard-working, but it was his work off the pitch that truly changed the world. As the chairman of the Professional Footballers Association, he led the historic charge to abolish the maximum wage of £20 per week in 1961. This monumental victory allowed players to finally earn what they were worth, effectively ending what many described as a form of sporting slavery. Hill's leadership in this area laid the groundwork for the multi-million-pound contracts that modern-day superstars enjoy today. Without his courage to stand up to the league authorities, the financial landscape of football would look entirely different. Hill's influence also extended into the dugout and the boardroom, most notably during his transformative era at Coventry City. He took the club from the 3rd division all the way to the top flight, rebranding them as the Sky Blues and introducing radical innovations. Under his guidance, Coventry featured the first Osita Stadium in England, the first electronic scoreboard, and even the first colour matchday program. He was a man who understood the importance of the fan experience long before sports marketing became a buzzword in the industry. He even wrote the club's anthem and introduced pre-match entertainment to ensure spectators felt like valued customers. His Sky Blue revolution proved that a small club could become a modern powerhouse through visionary thinking and bold leadership. Perhaps his most lasting contribution to the global game was his successful lobbying for the 3 points for a win system. Before Hill's intervention in 1981, teams received only 2 points for a victory, which often encouraged defensive, dull football intended to secure a draw. Hill argued that increasing the reward for a win would incentivize attacking play and make the sport more exciting for the viewing public. His idea was eventually adopted worldwide, forever changing the tactical approach of coaches and players in every league on the planet. This change alone cements his status as one of the most important figures in the history of association football. It was a testament to his belief that the game should always strive to be more entertaining and competitive. Jimmy Hill's transition into broadcasting was just as revolutionary as his time in the PFA or at Coventry City. He joined the BBC Match of the Day in 1973 and went on to make over 600 appearances, becoming an iconic figure with his distinctive look and forthright views. He was the first to introduce the concept of a panel of pundits during the 1970 World Cup, a format that is now the standard for every sports broadcast. Hill believed that viewers deserved expert analysis rather than just simple play-by commentary, and he wasn't afraid to be the bad guy if it meant sparking a debate. His presence on screen made him a household name, though his honesty often made him a target for frustrated managers and fans alike. Throughout his life, Hill remained a servant to the game, even famously stepping in as a substitute linesman during an Arsenal versus Liverpool match in 1972. When the original official was injured and the game was at risk of being abandoned, Hill donned a tracksuit and took the flag without hesitation. This moment perfectly encapsulated his get-stuck-in attitude and his genuine love for the sport regardless of his status. Whether he was fighting for players' wages or running the touchline at Highbury, he was always ready to do whatever was necessarily for football. His versatility was unmatched, and he remains one of the few individuals to have excelled as a player, manager, chairman, and broadcaster. When Jimmy Hill passed away in 2015 after a long battle with Alzheimer's, World of Football united to pay tribute to a true pioneer. Legends of the game and former rivals alike acknowledged that Hill was perhaps the most influential individual in the history of the English game. Tributes poured in from every corner of the globe, highlighting his role in the wage war and his relentless pursuit of innovation. A statue was erected in his honor at Coventry Stadium, ensuring that future generations would remember the man who gave the club its identity. His funeral at Coventry Cathedral was attended by the great and good of football, all recognizing the debt the sport owed him. The legacy of Jimmy Hill lives on every time a player signs a record-breaking contract or a team pushes for a late winner to secure 3 points. He was a man who looked at a traditional, often stagnant sport and saw endless possibilities for growth and improvement. While his feuds with figures like Sir Alex Ferguson made for great headlines, they were merely symptoms of his unwavering commitment to his own principles. He was a disruptor who refused to stay quiet, a trait that earned him both enemies and eternal respect in equal measure. Today's high-gloss, high-stakes football world is the house that Jimmy Hill helped build through decades of tireless advocacy. In the modern era of punditry, Hill's influence is visible in every studio where experts break down the tactical nuances of the 90 minutes. He paved the way for former players to have a meaningful voice in the media, transforming broadcasting from a side job into a professional career. His ability to analyze the game with both technical knowledge and a fan's passion set a standard that remains the benchmark for analysts today. Even when his opinions were controversial, they were always grounded in a deep desire to see the game played the right way. This intellectual honesty is what made him such a compelling, if sometimes divisive, figure in the British living room for decades. The story of the apology letter from Sir Alex Ferguson remains a poignant footnote to Hill's long and storied career in the public eye. It reminds us that even in the tribal, often toxic world of professional football, there is room for reconciliation and mutual appreciation. Ferguson, a man known for his own incredible impact on the game, recognized that Hill's despicable comment came from a place of professional duty. The resolution of their feud serves as a fitting end to a chapter that saw two of football's most powerful egos collide. It proved that, despite their differences, both men were ultimately working toward the same goal, the greatness of the sport. As we look back on the player versus player dynamic that defined so much of Jimmy Hill's life, we see a man who was never a victim. He welcomed the challenges, whether they came from the Football League, the BBC executives, or the most successful manager in history. He had a thick skin and a sharp mind, tools he used to navigate the often treacherous waters of English football for over 60 years. His career serves as a blueprint for how one individual can affect massive systemic change through persistence and a clear vision. Jimmy Hill was not just a part of football history. He was one of the primary architects who designed its future. The tributes that followed his death often focused on his special achievement, induction into the National Football Football Museum's Hall of Fame. This category was created specifically for individuals whose contributions were so diverse they couldn't be pigeonholed into a single role. Hill was a polymath of the pitch, a man who understood the mechanics of a goal as well as the mechanics of a television contract. He was a bridge between the old world of muddied oafs and the new world of global superstars and media rights. His life was a testament to the idea that one man's passion can indeed change the world, or at least the world of football. In conclusion, Jimmy Hill's journey from a chimney sweep son to a national icon is a story of ambition, intellect, and courage. His clash with Sir Alex Ferguson was just one moment in a lifetime spent challenging the status quo for the betterment of the game. From the abolition of the maximum wage to the introduction of 3 points for a win, his fingerprints are on every blade of grass. He was a man who lived 1,000 lives in one, leaving behind a legacy that is as complex as it is profound. Jimmy Hill was, and remains, the ultimate innovator who truly did absolutely everything in the world of football. His final years were quiet, but the impact of his loud, vibrant career continues to resonate in every stadium across the United Kingdom and beyond. Fans who never saw him play or manage still feel the effects of his work every time they check the league table or watch a replay. He was a gentleman, a maverick, and above all, a visionary who saw what football could be before anyone else did. As we remember the man with the famous chin and the sharp tongue, we recognize a pioneer who never stopped smiling. Jimmy Hill's story is the story of modern football itself, built on the foundations of reform and a love for the game. The legacy of the Hill-Ferguson clash serves as a timeless reminder that football is as much about the personalities off the pitch as the players on it. This player versus player dynamic between the dugout and the studio helped define the modern era of sports media we consume today. While the headlines focused on the Pratt comments and the despicable labels, the underlying story was one of two men deeply committed to their crafts. It took a high-stakes disagreement to reveal the mutual respect that ultimately exists between the game's greatest innovators. Their eventual reconciliation proved that even the most intense rivalries can find common ground through a simple, honest apology. This chapter remains a fascinating look at the friction that occurs when two unstoppable forces of football history collide. Reflecting on Jimmy Hill's life, it is clear that he was never afraid of a fight if it meant standing up for his principles. Whether he was taking on the league authorities to get players a fair wage or critiquing a global superstar like Eric Cantona, his integrity remained his North Star. He understood that to improve the game, one had to be willing to ruffle the feathers of its most powerful figures, including Sir Alex Ferguson. This courage to speak his mind, regardless of the consequences, is exactly why he transitioned so successfully from the pitch to the television screen. His ability to navigate these public feuds with poise is a testament to his character and his deep-rooted confidence. He wasn't just a broadcaster, he was the conscience of the game for over 4 decades. The apology letter sent by Ferguson is perhaps the most significant artifact of this rivalry, highlighting a side of the manager rarely seen by the press. It showed that even at the height of his power, Ferguson was capable of self-reflection and recognized the value of Hill's contribution to the sport. This gesture of reaching out to Hill's family later in life cemented a bond that transcended the brief animosity of the 1990s. It turned a story of conflict into a story of class, proving that dignity is the ultimate winner in sportsmanship. For Hill, receiving such a letter was a silent validation that his voice mattered and that his analysis had struck a chord. His resolution allowed both men to move forward without the weight of a lingering, unresolved grudge. Jimmy Hill's departure from the world left a void that has been difficult to fill, as few possess his unique blend of experience and vision. He was a man who saw the potential for football to be a global spectacle long before the Premier League era truly took flight. Every time we see a pundit dissect a play or a team fight for 3 points, we are witnessing the living, breathing, the legacy of Jimmy Hill. He was a pioneer who moved the goalposts of what was possible for a professional athlete and a media personality alike. His life serves as an inspiration for anyone who believes that a single voice can lead to systemic, worldwide change. He lived his life with a sense of purpose that ensured his name would be etched in the history books forever. The Sky Blue Revolution and the 3 points rule are just fragments of a career that spanned every possible role within the beautiful game. Hill was the ultimate multi-hyphenate, a man whose curiosity and drive led him to explore every corner of the footballing world. He didn't just participate in the culture of football, he actively sought to reshape it for the benefit of the players and the fans. This commitment to progress is what made him such a formidable opponent for traditionalists and a hero for the modernizers. His impact is felt in the stadiums he helped design and the contracts he helped negotiate for the generations that followed. Jimmy Hill was a giant among men, a person whose influence can be found in the very fabric of the sport. As we conclude this exploration of the feud and the life of Jimmy Hill, we are reminded of the passion that fuels this sport. The disagreements, the apologies, and the innovations are all parts of a larger narrative that makes football the most popular game on the planet. Hill's story is a reminder that you don't have to be the best player on the pitch to be the most influential person in the stadium. He transformed the way we watch, the way we pay, and the way we think about football in a way few others can claim. His life was a masterclass in leadership, communication, and the power of a visionary mind. Jimmy Hill's journey is a blueprint for excellence that will continue to guide the sport for many years to come. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most intriguing professional rivalries and celebrated lives in the history of English football. From the heated exchanges over Eric Cantona to the silent dignity of a private apology, the Hill-Ferguson saga is a true classic of the genre. We hope this script has shed light on the man behind the chin and the manager who eventually chose peace over pride. If you enjoyed this look at the player versus player dynamic of the mid-90s, be sure to share this video with your fellow football fans. We look forward to bringing you more stories from the legends who built the game we love. Until next time, keep the passion for the game alive, and remember the pioneers who made it possible.
Suspicious looking handball, but I think it hit hand rather than the other way. And that looked very much like a right hook by Johnny Giles. Keegan, the player, down. Put up rather quickly.
Kevin Keegan is primarily known for a single but highly infamous on-pitch fight with Billy Bremner during the 1974 Charity Shield match. The confrontation became a defining moment in English football history, reflecting the fierce competitiveness of the era. Keegan, usually admired for his discipline and work ethic, shocked fans with his reaction during the scuffle. The clash erupted after a series of rough challenges, culminating in both players losing their temper. When the fight escalated, both men were sent off, creating one of the match's most iconic images. This incident, though uncharacteristic, followed Keegan throughout his career. The altercation with Bremner overshadowed much of Keegan's early professionalism, marking him unexpectedly as a figure of controversy. Despite years of dedicated play, that single moment drew intense media scrutiny. Keegan found himself portrayed as both villain and victim depending on who told the story. The event also highlighted how emotionally charged top-flight football had become. As debates raged, Keegan faced the challenge of balancing public opinion with personal growth. This pressure ultimately helped shape his mature approach to the game. In the aftermath, Keegan reflected deeply on the incident and its impact on his reputation. While he defended his emotional response, he acknowledged the need for greater composure. The public backlash encouraged him to rebuild trust through consistent, disciplined performances. Fans began to see the episode not as his defining flaw, but as a human moment. Over time, Keegan worked to redirect attention toward his skills and leadership. That journey showcased his resilience both on and off the pitch. Although the fight remained a major talking point, Keegan's career soon shifted toward more positive achievements. His performances for Liverpool and later clubs demonstrated elite athleticism and dedication. With each match, he distanced himself from the stigma of the confrontation. Supporters witnessed his transformation from impulsive young forward to strategic, inspiring leader. Media narratives gradually changed as his success accumulated. The fight became just one chapter in a broader, richer legacy. Even so, the 1974 Charity Shield stayed etched in football memory, resurfacing in documentaries and retrospectives. Keegan's involvement made him a symbol of football's gritty, passionate culture. Analysts often revisited the moment to discuss sportsmanship and emotional control. Keegan himself approached these conversations with honesty, never deflecting responsibility. His willingness to confront his past reinforced his credibility. This openness strengthened his bond with fans across generations. The confrontation also influenced how future players handled high-pressure situations. Keegan's experience became a cautionary tale used in training discussions. Coaches pointed to the incident as evidence of how quickly emotions can derail performance. Keegan embraced this educational role, recognizing its value for younger athletes. By turning a negative into a lesson, he reshaped public understanding of the event. His contribution fostered a more mindful culture within the sport, Ultimately, the infamous clash with Billy Bremner did not define Kevin Keegan. It merely introduced him to the complexities of public scrutiny. His response in the years that followed revealed his character more than the altercation itself. Keegan proved that growth can emerge from moments of weakness. Through resilience and excellence, he rebuilt his image and elevated his career. The fight may remain iconic, but Keegan's legacy stretches far beyond it. His journey reflects both the passion and humanity at the heart of football. The 1974 Charity Shield incident erupted on August 10th, 1974, when Liverpool faced Leeds United at Wembley Stadium in a tense match, overshadowed by aggression. Rough challenges dominated the early minutes, setting a tone that neither side sought to calm as frustrations rose. Fans sensed the hostility building with every clash, turning a competitive fixture into a volatile spectacle. Though the scoreline remained even, the emotional temperature on the pitch climbed relentlessly. Keegan, usually controlled, felt targeted repeatedly as tackles intensified. What unfolded next would define the match far more than its football. The build-up saw Leeds rely on their famously physical style, met by Liverpool's determination to stand firm in each contested duel. Mistimed tackles and confrontations halted play frequently, creating an atmosphere of escalating resentment. Players exchanged glares, gestures and shoves as tensions accumulated across both halves. Spectators recognised the volatility but could not predict the scale of what would soon explode. Keegan absorbed several harsh challenges without retaliation until one encounter pushed him past his limit. That moment triggered the confrontation etched forever in football history. The altercation began when Keegan felt provoked after a sequence involving Johnny Giles, whose challenges had already angered Liverpool players. A final exchange drew Billy Bremner into the fray, bringing two fiercely competitive captains into direct conflict. Keegan, overwhelmed by frustration, responded with a punch aimed at Bremner, shattering any illusion of restraint. Bremner reacted instantly, and a brief yet intense fistfight unfolded at the heart of the pitch. Teammates rushed to intervene, but the damage was already done as emotions overtook discipline. The once fiery match now had erupted into chaos. Referee Bob Matthewson acted decisively, showing both Keegan and Bremner the red card, making history in the process. It marked the first time players had been dismissed in a domestic competition at Wembley Stadium, amplifying the incident's significance. As they walked off, both men tore off their shirts and hurled them to the turf in rage. Cameras captured the moment, turning it into an iconic image broadcast worldwide within hours. The gesture symbolized not just anger but deep frustration at the match's volatility and the referee's ruling. This dramatic exit became the incident's lasting visual memory. The fallout from the event extended far beyond the final whistle, sparking widespread debate and disciplinary action. The Football Association viewed the behaviour as unacceptable on such a prestigious stage and responded harshly. Keegan and Bremner each received heavy £500 fines, a severe penalty for the era. An 11-match domestic ban further underscored the FA's determination to maintain discipline in high-profile competitions. The ruling shocked supporters who had never witnessed such strong consequences for an on-pitch altercation. It marked a turning point in attitudes towards player conduct. Other figures also contributed to the tension, including Johnny Giles, whose earlier clash added layers to the escalating conflict. Giles threw a punch at Keegan during the match and received only a booking, a decision some viewed as lenient. His involvement demonstrated how widespread the frustration had become among both teams. The cumulative effect of multiple confrontations heightened the risk of a major incident. For For Keegan, Giles's provocation helped fuel his breaking point. These smaller moments provided the spark for the eventual explosion. Compounding matters, Keegan had been sent off just 4 days earlier in a pre-season friendly against FC Kaiserslautern. That dismissal was the result of another punch thrown in a moment of frustration, suggesting his temper was unusually short that week. The back-to-back incidents created an image of Keegan temporarily losing his emotional control. Critics highlighted the pattern as evidence of mounting pressure on him at the time. Supporters defended him, arguing the tackles he faced were excessively aggressive. Regardless, the Kaiserslautern clash added context to the Wembley eruption. Off the pitch, Keegan later endured a violent assault in 1991 when drug dealers attacked him as he slept in his car. The incident had no connection to his career, but became part of discussions about moments of violence involving him. It showed that Keegan's encounters with conflict were not limited to footballing arenas. This unrelated event highlighted the vulnerability public figures sometimes face. Despite the trauma, Keegan continued with his career and public life. Such episodes rarely overshadowed his contributions to the sport. Despite the dramatic nature of these incidents, Keegan was never known as a habitual fighter or violent player. His style revolved around determination, stamina, and hard running rather than reckless aggression. Teammates often praised his professionalism and sportsmanship in training and competition. Coaches valued his leadership, commitment, and ability to inspire those around him. The 1974 fight became an anomaly rather than a representation of his character. It stood as the exception in an otherwise disciplined playing career. Years later, Keegan would become embroiled in a very different kind of confrontation, one defined by emotion rather than physicality. The famous "I would love it" rant in 1996 remains one of the Premier League's most iconic managerial outbursts. This moment showcased Keegan's passion, but also his vulnerability under pressure. It was a verbal eruption rather than a physical fight, yet equally unforgettable. The rant revealed how deeply he cared about fairness, integrity, and competition. Fans still revisit this moment as an emblematic chapter of the Premier League era. The rant occurred on April 29th, 1996, after Newcastle United's crucial 1-0 victory over Leeds United. The win kept Newcastle within reach of Manchester United in the title race, intensifying the emotional stakes. During the post-match interview, Keegan responded fiercely to perceived mind games from Sir Alex Ferguson. His voice shook with frustration as he delivered the now famous lines live on television. It became instantly iconic, illustrating the immense psychological pressure of top-level management. Few managerial interviews have matched its intensity. Ferguson's psychological tactics had long been a hallmark of his managerial style, often unsettling rivals and shifting public narratives. Keegan, emotional by nature, found himself deeply affected by these remarks during a tense period. Newcastle's title hopes were slipping, adding to the internal strain he carried. When the opportunity arose to respond, he chose honesty over restraint. His raw expression resonated with supporters who admired his sincerity, yet it also exposed Newcastle's vulnerability during the final stretch. In the aftermath, Keegan reflected on his words with a mixture of embarrassment and pride, acknowledging their impact. He admitted the interview was emotionally driven, but insisted his message about fairness remained sincere. The media dissected his reaction for weeks, examining every nuance. Rivals viewed it as evidence that Ferguson's tactics had succeeded. Supporters, however, admired Keegan's courage to speak from the heart. The episode added depth to his managerial persona. Together, the 1974 fight and the 1996 rant illustrate two extremes of Keegan's emotional spectrum. One was born from physical provocation amid chaotic play, the other from psychological strain at managerial level. Both moments entered football history for their raw immediacy and dramatic impact. Keegan's career, rich with triumphs, also carried these volatile flashes that revealed his humanity. These incidents contributed to his mythos as a passionate, driven figure. His story remains compelling for its emotional honesty. Kevin Keegan's story stands as a testament to how passion can both ignite controversy and fuel greatness in equal measure. His most dramatic moments, whether physical clashes or emotional interviews, never overshadowed his commitment to the sport. Instead, they revealed layers of complexity within a career defined by effort, resilience, and integrity. Every challenge he faced ultimately strengthened his legacy rather than diminished it. Fans came to appreciate the honesty behind his emotions, even when they erupted unexpectedly. His journey remains one of the most human and heartfelt in football history. As fans look back on his path, they see a figure who shaped football through sheer personality as much as talent. His memorable moments, good and bad, combined to create a narrative unmatched in depth and drama. Keegan embraced every chapter of his journey, refusing to hide behind excuses or public image. That openness allowed supporters to understand the man behind the achievements. His influence continues to resonate as new generations discover his story. His legacy lives on through the passion he brought to every arena. Thank you for following this deep dive into the life and legacy of Kevin Keegan, one of football's most expressive and unforgettable figures. His journey reminds us that emotion is not weakness, but a force that can inspire greatness. If you enjoyed this script and would like more stories like this, your support means